here we all are. Here where the water breaks the sky into diamonds, I'll open myself, I surrender. For isn't this what it all was in preparation for? Love or dying. All night I listen to the thunder, for the earth is a broken bell. And I took 3 pebbles in my hand, I shook them like a rattle. Someday your bones will sound like that. See how the sky is a horse on fire, as the night sails blue and alone. Songs of a heart seas and tiny voices echo, hoping for angels, hoping for angels. How I came to know faith is silence, how under each stone blue sky burns. In dreams you speak of ships that rise and fall upon the ocean, over and over. See how the sky is a horse on fire, as the night sails blue and alone. Songs of a heart seas and tiny voices echo, hoping for angels. See how the sky is a horse on fire, as the night sails blue and alone. Songs of a heart seas and tiny voices echo, hoping for angels. Hoping for angels, hoping for angels, hoping for angels. Into the break of bracken bramble, of shadowed streets and wobbly men, past hammered light and empty halls, I dreamt I went homeless again. Into the grip of wired wackos, drunk all night on bathtub gin, like every motherless child, I too was born on the wind. And I am one of the chosen ones, because I choose to be. There I go as usual, just falling on my knees, when the trees are blowing silver. Though sometimes it seems like a seabird searching for a cliff, there was a rip in me, said pluck the splinter from my heart and then stitch up the seams. I'll say I'm here for a long haul. I'll play my part upon this page. I'll die for you, or climb the light to rise again and thrive and sway. Sad to see the summer go. More things fall from the heavens than the rain falling in place. More things fall from the heavens than the rain falling in place. I'm still falling in place. As my salt shaker jumps in my sugar bowl, my spoon and fork do a jig. I belly dance across the room, blowing these kisses at you. If you want to be beautiful, you have to laugh and put a lampshade on your head. Order flowers in from Amsterdam. Throw your feathered hair as far as you can. Watching the stars take this town by surprise. I found my own salvation last night. There is a light, somehow I knew I belonged to the night. I've on my shoulder stay, joy will find a way. Crow tracks across the moon, the way the sky was then. I walk along the railroad tracks, strewn roses to the sound of the wind. I'm learning to breathe. I'm learning to walk out on desire. As if I were an acrobat in blue, just traveling on a wire. Watching the stars take this town by surprise. I found my own salvation in the morning's night. There is a light, somehow I knew I belonged to the night. I've on shoulder stay, joy will find a way. Watching the stars take this town by surprise. I found my own salvation in the moonless night. There is a light, somehow I knew I belonged to the night. How you show Thanks, everybody. Those opening three songs were posthumous collaborations with the late Winnipeg poet Patrick O'Connell. Those are his words that I've kind of reconstructed a little bit and made into songs. I figured I would wait until, we had to wait till one of us died to become co-writers. We bickered. I was sitting backstage pondering a few things. I was trying to think of some of the upsides of our whole current situation with the virus, and a few came to me. I actually called William Prince just before the set and said, hey, my shows are selling out again too. And in like less than a day. I don't know if he knew that, but I called him to let him know that. And it seems that people are spending more time with their children. So there's some upsides. I'm just personally glad that you're not all in cars right now honking after the song. I'm not ready for that. However, ready for the drive-in movies to make a comeback, and I've been trying to get friends for years. I always try to get friends to go in on crazy business ventures, and nobody's done it yet. I tried to get John K. Sampson to go halfers on the Black's Books on Portage Avenue down by Sergeant Sunday, which was this, like, I just like spending time in the place. I couldn't believe how many books they stuffed in such a small space. That alone, it was like being John Malkovich or something. And so I said to John, I wrote him a letter, because it's the only way you can get a hold of him now, and I wrote him a postcard and said, hey, if I were to lose money with anybody, I'd like it to be with you, and maybe we could go halfers on this bookstore. And then I can't remember what got me talking about this in the first place. Drive-in movies. I said to William years back now already, I said, if you start making a little bit of money, we got to buy the drive-in movie theater, because all periods of my life connect to that movie theater. Being in the back of my parents' car with my sister and with my first girlfriends, and drinking beer with my friends and going to the all-night movies, and so I think it's time to maybe bring it back. It's just kind of sitting there, I think. So anyway, these were some thoughts. I was trying to make a positive, right? And it's not always that easy to do. They've got me parking cars at the church on Easter Sunday. And Pastor John said this is either everything or nothing. That night I got a chill when I heard the choir sing Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Storm before the calm, patron saint of broken hearts, had me searching for salvation before I completely fall apart. First Sunday after the first full moon of spring, how even nothing feels like something when you've lost everything. We sing for mercy, we sing for joy. It hurts so bad, it makes a beautiful noise. I hear your footsteps, I can hear you calling my name. Rejoice and start over again. Just a shell with empty rooms, family pictures on the wall. how something that made me feel so good could make me feel so small. And if true love never dies, let's just let it be. Until then I'll have no choice but to set you free. We sing for mercy, we sing for joy. It hurts so bad, it makes a beautiful noise. And I hear your footsteps, I can hear you calling my name. Rejoice, start over again. I hear your footsteps, I can hear you calling my name. Rejoice, start over again. Rejoice, start over again. Thanks, everybody. Something else just occurred to me. I sure hope you weren't counting on me to cheer you up. I was thinking maybe it'd just be enough to be out of the house for the evening and my sad songs would be fine enough for everybody. I've gotten so good at writing about grief and marriages failing that mine went and failed. And I could write a song about that. And I thought, man, I'm on a roll. I had this auntie call me when she heard, and she's my favorite auntie, and she's very emotional and passionate. And as soon as I answered the phone, I could hear the tremble in her voice. And I said, Auntie Sue, suffering is my busy season. And she immediately started laughing, and she felt fine again. Yeah. My mom said, boy, I sure hope I hear some happy songs soon. And I thought, you won't. It's not the thing I work in. And when I'm happy, I'm flying kites in the park and stuff. I'm not sitting around writing songs. So it's, as they say, some sort of therapy. But getting to play them with my friends like this, now that's a whole other thing, because now that whole early part of the song disappears, and the new part is having something to do with these people I love, that we get to play together like this. And rehearsing was not a very easy option, so I'm going to come clean right now and tell you that we didn't rehearse, really. We tried, but we didn't really. We actually even got together all in one place and still didn't really rehearse. I'll tell you another thing about COVID I like is nobody passes joints around anymore. I never liked that habit. I didn't like shaking hands all that much either, because it's not the germs for me either. It's people can be excited. They want you to feel by their hand what they're feeling. So sometimes they're going to squeeze your hand thinking, well, he plays guitar, and that sucks for me. And then, and then other times it's a limp thing, and you go, oh, geez, I really let them down there. I did the thing. And so it just never worked for me. And then you get the odd person, too, that there's a code there. You got to do the whole combination. I always blow it, and I feel silly after. And so I'm happy to be without the handshake. I'm happy to be without the joint pass, That whole Bogart thing can stay back in the 70s. It's 2020. You can get your weed in the mail now, and we should all smoke our own. That's what I think. No more passes. I'm here to raise some awareness and funds and supports for the Park Theater, and I realized, they probably don't appreciate this little left turn of politics on their Facebook page. I also think we should be able to smoke them in here, but, it's COVID. I hear it potentially can kill the COVID. They say pot smokers have a better resistance, if you can believe that. I read that somewhere. Somewhere on the internet, but still. It sounded right to me at the time. I rolled up one of those giant cone ones that the kids use, like the big, looks like a small baseball bat. I smoked the whole thing myself. And I'll tell you what, I don't feel any symptoms. I feel great. Anyway, the lovely and wonderful Carrie Latimer from Nathan, her and her children made me this face mask. I figured I should give a shout out to them because it's comfortable and it breathes, and I don't think I look too creepy in it. So I thank them for that. It's a good time for bank robbers. That's another upside of the COVID. If you happen to be into robberies, armed or otherwise, it just got a little bit easier. Wasn't it like 10 years ago that Geraldo Rivera was saying that African American kids in the States shouldn't put their hoods up? Now look at us. In fact, within a couple weeks of COVID hitting, in Quebec, they were still arguing about whether people could wear burqas and various things connected to their faith. And now look, every bus driver's wearing a mask. So it kind of blew up, and the know-it-all-y people's face is pretty good there. So maybe we should be drinking bleach.
That's where you got from that?
At this point, who knows? Who knows? That's the point, is we don't know. Nobody really knows. I listen to the premiere and I think, he doesn't know. I bet he's got like the most expensive HEPA filter air purification in both his houses. I bet you it's like the one only premiers can have in their houses, right? He's gone full on Michael Jackson over there. I don't know what I'm talking about. I haven't been out of the house in a while. I haven't seen anybody, so there's a real danger of me. They asked me, in fact, are you going to talk a lot? I said, what the hell kind of question is that? Probably. The sun comes up, the sun goes back down. There's always a bridge to cross in this town. There's always a bridge to cross in this town. See, our day where your shadow is long, a man can start over again. Coming home right, and I'm coming home soon. I sure hope you'll understand. Even when the bad days outweigh the good ones, somehow I'd always get through. Watching trains off Arlington Street is my favorite memory of you. The sun comes up, the sun goes back down. There's always a bridge to cross in this town. There's always a bridge to cross in this town. That was the year that you went away. This time I knew it was for good. If the life didn't kill you, the loneliness would. I'd bring you back if I could. Even when the bad days outweigh the good ones, somehow I'd always get through. Watching trains off Arlington Street is my favorite memory of you. The sun comes up, the sun There's always a bridge crossing this town. There's always a bridge crossing this town. Joanna Miller back there in the drums. Can you see Joanna back there?
So excited to be here.
Kevin McLean on the keyboards. Paul Balcain on the saxophones. And that's Cory Wolchuk back there on the piano. I was thinking recently about the late Kevin Walters, and if you're not familiar with Kevin Walters, he worked for an organization called Manitoba Film and Music, and he was what they called the sound recording officer, I guess. He was the guy that was involved with the grants for young artists making records, and Kevin, like Jerry Atwell, like Mitch Podolak, was somebody in my life that was great at his job, and what made him particularly great was he made you feel so good about what you were trying to do that it never occurred to you that he did that for everybody. At 19, he made me feel like Neil Young, starting out here in Winnipeg, because he'd say stuff like that to me. And he was just a wonderful champion of young artists. I think about those guys, and I try to remind myself of that responsibility too, because it's easy to get crushed, especially in those early years. So Kevin was a very special friend to me. And the first time I ever played Winnipeg Folk Fest under my own name, I was doing this workshop, and I can't remember everybody that was there now, unfortunately, but I remember I was sitting next to Ron Sexsmith, who I was already a great admirer of his songs, and it was, Shady Grove or something. There was a huge crowd, and Kevin came up in the middle of the thing and said, "Play Leaving Vegas," which is a song off my first record, and maybe the first pretty good song I wrote. My friend Dan Frechette, it was the first song of mine, I think, that really excited him, which meant a lot to me. And anyway, so Kevin came up and interrupted and said, "You got to play this song." And I played the song, and I'll never forget afterward, Ron turned and said very kind of quietly beside me, he just went, "Wow." And it was one of those moments that meant I wouldn't stop. So I was thinking about Kevin, and I thought I should probably play that song. I haven't played it in a very long time. And as I sat down to remember the lyrics, I realized it's like a weird self-fulfilling prophecy in some strange way, because I kind of wrote this song at 19, and then it kind of was my career for 10 or 15 years until I couldn't do it anymore. And here I am at 45 trying to learn the song again, and it suits me more now because I've become it somehow. And I don't know if that's a sad thing or not, but it is. In Dusty's old Eldorado, we took off on down the road. Figured we'd hit Austin or maybe San Antonio. Well, he turned on the radio as the announcer said, "Nevada Starlight Lounge, it's where legends are made. Only 2 more days of driving, me and my old silver tone. We'll drop in on Nashville on our way back home." Said he's leaving town, he's gonna be a big star. He ain't coming back till it's just what he's done. Left his mama a letter saying, "You're gonna be proud of your son." I'm waiting. left behind his clothes and all his old girlfriends. Fuel on truck stop coffee. He had a character to invent. By the time I get to Vegas, you know it won't be long. No more playing the parlor jukebox. $1.50 a song, an overnight sensation. The skeptics, they'll say, Nevada Starlight Lounge is where legends are made. Said he's leaving town, he's gonna be a big star. He ain't coming back till it's just what he's done. Left his mama a letter saying you're gonna be proud of your son. I'm leaving Vegas on the run. He wasn't getting very far, playing these hotel lounges and bars, with a drummer and a drinking problem, and strumming on an old out-of-tune guitar. I've had all I can take of this. Hell, I'll make it on my own. He packed up his guitar, was headed for the door. He really moved me with that song. Bartender said, bet you're gonna be famous and singing at the Starlight Lounge someday. Said he's leaving town, he's gonna be a big star. He ain't coming back till it's just what he's done. Left his mama a letter saying you're gonna be proud of your son. I'm leaving Vegas on the run. I'm leaving Vegas on the run. I'm leaving Vegas on the run.
Thanks, everybody. Guess I should have made a list.
The older I get, the less I know, and the songs keep getting sadder. However, the circumstances very often become, at least to me, more hilarious. I don't know what it is. It's taken me, it feels like, my dad used to say, if a cat has 9 lives, I'm on my 3rd cat. And I used to feel like it took me at least a cat just to like feel good in my own skin and mind and universe. And sometimes I get young people reach out to me now when they're struggling, and the only thing I can ever really say is that it seems to get easier, at least for me, simpler. And but I walk the same routes every day, and I have the same routines every day, and lo and behold, I love it after living in a very unrooted kind of way for much of my life. Who knew I would like fresh air and walks and physical activity? And I flew a kite a couple of weeks ago for the first time since I was probably 5, and I was very reluctant. I was with a friend who enjoys flying kites, and she said, we're gonna fly kites, and I said, I don't really want to, and she said, but we're going to. And one of the things I like about this friend is
I always say, you could talk me into anything somehow. I don't know how. And there I was flying kites in the park. And at first it scared me a little bit because I saw kids with kites and they were like, it seemed like 1,000 feet. And I thought, oh boy, I'm going to embarrass myself. And a couple times, to be fair, she had to like get the kite up there for me. And then she'd give me the handle and it would still crash. And there was a couple really bad ones, like where I thought I maybe broke it. Anyway, finally it worked, and I thought, oh my God, this is pretty great. Who knew? You know. So I hope it stays this easy. I mean, it is a pandemic after all, and social isolation is something I've been practicing for 40 years. So not that much changed, really. My lovely friend Barb Reimer would message me from time to time and say, do you like a certain type of meal? And I'd say, sure. And she'd say, could I bring some over? I'm like, are you kidding me? That's so lovely, of course. And so I thought, you know, this really isn't so terrible. People are bringing delicious homemade food to the house. And when I wave and smile at people on my bike rides, they seem way friendlier all of a sudden. Like people stopped smiling for a while, and I thought, that's a tough reality, you know. And it didn't happen a lot, but it happened enough times that it would trouble me. And I realized maybe they just didn't like the look of me. Part of the reason I smile in advance is to be disarming. For heaven forbid it's, you know, some little lady with her dog. I don't want her to think I'm going to mug her. So I try to be disarming. But anyway, during this pandemic, I've been more mindful of the smile and the wave. And twice now, I smiled once at this woman in the park. I'm guessing, but I want to say Caribbean or a Jamaican woman, maybe my mom's age, you know. Anyway, I smiled and it took her off guard, surprised her, and she barely had time to smile back, but when she did, she smiled with her eyes. And I forgot for a minute that people did that. My late friend Ernie Blackburn, when he'd walk into a room and saw somebody that he loved or cared for, he'd do this. He'd kind of blink his eyes like he was calling for a genie or something, but it was him smiling with his eyes. It's this amazing thing. Anyway, so this woman in the park, I just about fell off my bike because it was such a lovely, warm, like it flowed right through me. So again, I'm still just trying to consider what I found positive about this experience is there's moments of gentleness that surprise me, you know. Country kitchen, basement bar, gravel roads under falling stars, west of the valley in the border town. So where we'll meet once the sun goes down. Radio with a broken antenna, 8-ball over old Vienna. Still traveling Highway 3, wondering if you ever wonder about me. Clear water at the river's bend, McLaren's dog got loose again. A 3 o'clock set on the old main stage. Big yellow sun staring right in my face. A warm front rolls in from the west. Children playing in the schoolhouse. Prairie harvest, full moon, ready or not. Winter's coming soon. Tamana with time to spare, passing through the Riviera. It's last call. Everybody's going home. It was almost like no time had passed. Some things are still built to last, like old friends. There's nothing like old friends. The ride home was quiet in the car. No
winds cried like a steel guitar. Thought of you passing, boys of vain. Halfway there and it started to rain. I guess sometimes life just gets busy. You out here and us in the city. Next time it's not wait so long. Some things you can count on. Pamela with time to spare, passing through the Riviera. It's last call. Everybody's going home. It was almost like no time had passed, and some things are still built to last, like old friends. Nothing like old friends. Pamela with time to spare, passing through the Riviera. It's last call. Everybody's going home. It was almost like no time had passed. Some things are still built to last, like old friends. Nothing like old friends. Thanks, everybody. Thinking of old friends, I will send that song out to Bob and Michelle Bergen, who were going to be here tonight. We're unable to make it, so I'll send that song out to Bob, who I know is probably watching from home.
Hey, guys.
You're here in spirit, Bob? You're here in spirit, and we miss you, and I'd be watching from home too, probably, so, you know, that's just me, though. And while I would hate playing the drive-in movie concerts, I would love being in the car. So it's all a big trade-off. It's what it took to close the American borders for us, I've got to tell you. We're going to be pretty frickin' glad they did that, let me tell you. I don't mind saying. I miss my friends down there, of course. They all want to come here. They'd always tease me down in Texas. You really a communist, Nolan? I'd say, fuck yeah. We got healthcare and legal weed. You guys are crazy down here. I'd trade all the guns in the world for legal weed. I know many
any friends down in Texas that would probably do that too. I was once playing a show, a venue that I love called Coralville's in Beaumont, Texas. In fact, it was just outside of Beaumont, a little town called China, Texas. And I was playing with my friend Hayes Carl, and they have gun draws at the show. And like there's a big board, you know, and I'm not making fun because the Coralvilles are my friends, and I do not want to mess with them. And Donnie Coralville is very likely watching. Donnie Coralville, in fact, is the reason Hayes Carl hurt a bad liver and a broken heart in the first place. So I love the Coralville family, but I'm just saying, they had a gun draw at the gig, you know. In Canada, sometimes we have a meat draw, you know, and then we cook it up and eat the damn thing right there at the community club. So it's different, right, you know? What's the joke? In Canada, you bury the gun, and you're down drinking at the tavern, you get pissed off, you want to shoot some guy. You got to go home and remember where you buried the damn thing, and by the time you finally dig it up, you can't remember what you were mad about in the first place. That's the Canadian gun law. That's what I thought, at least. That's what I do. And anyway, so Hayes wins the gun draw, which I thought, how can the entertainer win the gun draw? And right away, I was on him. I'm like, don't do this. Hayes grew up largely in Houston. And I said, have you ever owned a gun? He said, no, I've never shot a gun. And I said, and you grew up in Houston? That's kind of an amazing thing. If I were you, I'd keep running for the goal zone. Like, that's already awesome. Why? You know, you got to get a locker for that thing now. You don't want your kid near it. Anyway, so he gets the gun, and the owner of the place, Big Rich, who's an awesome, amazing guy, put a scope on it. Put a scope on this handgun, and I thought, oh, shit, this is a big trouble. We're going to get this thing taken off of us at the next gig, and one of us will likely get killed with the gun. So anyway, I asked Hayes what he did with it. He told me, but I'm not going to tell you guys. That's his story to tell. It's pretty good. I'm just relieved that he got rid of the thing. How weird, man. Like, can you imagine if you were leaving tonight and you go, hey, Scott, did you hear who won the revolver? Seems a little nutty to me. I'd rather hear, hey, did you hear who won the Delta 9 prize package of 100 pre-rolled marijuana cigarettes? Guess who? The performer won it. Fixed. All right. Joanna would say, uh-oh, he's talking some shit now. That old guitar under the stairs, my auntie left it there. Down to the basement I would crawl. I could still hear Grandpa's call. Sunglasses and blue jeans, and those pretty eyes of green. Beehive hairdos and beetle-bug cars. Oh Lord, I see stars. So fire up, play some old-time rock and roll. Before it all turned to noise and them greasy, dark-tailed rockabilly boys. Rag top down, so lonely without you. Remember Sweet Lorraine, how we play that song over again and again and again. By 10 I was getting paid for those living room matinees. That guitar was now mine on loan. I had a screwdriver microphone. Shine my shoes and shake my hips. The ever shirt never quite fit. Leather jacket, blue suede shoes, an 8-bar bridge and the 12-bar blues. So fire up, play some old-time rock and roll. Before it all turned to noise and them greasy ducktail rockabilly boys. Rag top down, so lonely without you. Remember Sweet Lorraine, how we play that song over again and again and again.
fire up. Play some old time rock and roll before it all turned to noise and them greasy ducktail rockabilly boys. Rag top down, so lonely without you. Remember sweet Lorraine, how we play that song over again and again and again. 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 That old guitar under the stairs, my auntie left it there. Leather jacket, blue suede shoes, an 8-bar bridge and a 12-bar blues. Anybody? That song was written for my late auntie Glennis Langrid, my mom's sister, and the reference to the 8-bar bridge and a 12-bar blues is a reference to one of my favorite songs of all time, which is The Wanderer. If you remember Dion, back in the 50s, that was, there wasn't a lot of music in my house except when my father drank, and lucky for me, he drank a lot, and it wasn't lucky for anybody else but me, but he played good music, and if I had to pick one song that kind of really stayed with me, he played hurting music mostly, soul, blues, but that song always stayed with me. I love the part where he tore right open his shirt and showed the Rosie on his chest, and I just love that song, and I love Doc Pomus and Burt Burns and these old songwriters. There was no hocus pocus with those guys. They would sit down like they would for a game of cards and write an amazing song just like that. And they didn't make a big fuss about themselves for doing it either. I love those guys. Burt Burns wrote Twist and Shout. Almost nobody really even knows that. And I doubt he cares. Anyway. A lot of these songs are of a somber tone, and it's mostly because it's how I feel. I hope that's agreeable to you all. It's many of them. I played a few older ones just so I didn't get booed, but these are almost all newer songs, and many of them I've recorded alone during the pandemic, and the band were able to work out parts from the recordings, and so the Patrick O'Connell stuff is a whole record I made a bunch of years ago in a weird kind of state. I went out and played all the instruments and all the parts, and I wrote and recorded a record in what felt like 10 days, and I've never released it because somewhere I don't know how to release music anymore, but I started a Bandcamp page, and they've made it kind of simple, so I'm just going to start putting it up there because I think what they do is a cool thing, and these recordings shouldn't just die in my vaults, and it's been fun hearing them brought to life. Just hearing these great musicians do the parts instead of me doing them adds something, and then their personalities change it yet again. So it's very fun for me to see what will come of it. And but anyway, I'm going to continue in that path a little bit, if that's all right. They're all so very Manitoba-centric songs. So. Sitting, waiting, wishing on a Manitoba skyline, watching the trains roll by. Don't sleep too late this time of year. It's almost always dark outside. Ghost cars circling the old switchyard. Everything is broken. 6 more weeks without the sun. Everything is free now. I take a long walk, I watch some planes land. City cut a nice trail through industrial wasteland. Between the golf course and the war museum, I love my old man, still I never see him. Knock, knock, ginger, riding bumpers down the lane. Everything is broken. Everything old is new again. Everything is free. Free now. Everything is broken. Everything is free now. I drove past the old neighborhood. Its front drives and satellite TVs. Here where the trees grow tall and much of life is still wild. At least it used to be. Later, everything is broken till there's nothing but the moon and me. Everything is free. Everything is free now. Everything is broken. Everything is free now. Free now, free now. Free now, free now. Free now, free now.
Thanks, everybody. Everybody doing all right? All right. I once did a gig at the Goodwill where they stood up at the stage. I was already too old for that. Made me anxious. The truth is this little bit of time up here is the only time I'm really not anxious. I learned a long time ago. Very anxious all day leading up to this. Worse than normal days. But then this is peaceful somehow. So we might be here a while. I'd also like to say that for anybody watching, we volunteered to come here tonight. All the musicians here waived all their fees because we love this place. And I lived in the neighborhood before Eric had actually kind of committed to a music venue, and we talked very early on. He asked me for some opinions, and I'd come and check on what he was doing, and it was amazing to watch. He was doing it on his own, kind of the old-fashioned way. It cost him a lot, it gave him a lot, and I think it's back to costing a lot, I'm sure. But so it was something that we absolutely wanted to do, and so for anybody watching, also thank you to the Village Idiots for broadcasting, but anybody out watching that feel inclined to send in a tip or a fee or whatever it is, it will go directly to the Park Theatre, and please do. Please share the video far and wide, and it's a difficult time, so if you can't send in a tip, just share the page, and that alone is a very generous and helpful thing. But we would like to help Eric at least limp into the fall, because so far they haven't done anything for venues like this that are real true music venues. They pay their bills with ticket sales, so. Across the country, legendary venues are closing, and to have a Park Theatre and a West End Cultural Center and a Times Change and a Goodwill and a King's Head, it's an embarrassment of riches. Very, very lucky city that we've been able to sustain such a thing, and lucky for the musicians and artists that live here. But so yeah, please be as generous as you are able, because we love Eric, we love the staff here. Thank you all very much for hosting us over the years, and we're thrilled to come out and play some songs tonight. Again, I start talking because I can't think of a song, and
Without the Night.
okay, yeah, all right. This one's origins are from a bike ride. It's actually a newer poem of mine that was published in a poetry anthology in Missouri, which just, I gotta tell you, tickles me. It's the small things. I make a very modest living. I live in a nice little house that I'm happy with, but it's these little things like, man, they wanted 2 of my poems for an anthology from Kansas City, Missouri. That's unbelievable to me. And what's even better is the one poem was unpublished, and it's become a song that we're about to play for you. And the other poem was my poem for Gord Downie. If you're familiar with any of my poetry or my book, there's The Man Who Walks Amongst the Stars is the English translation of the title. And anyway, so it really thrilled me that they chose this in Kansas City, Missouri, that they would chose a poem about such a uniquely Canadian kind of artist. So I don't know if it's because I knew him and liked him already or just liked the poem, but I'm very happy that they chose these 2. And this one's origins kind of center around the Grace Hospital and the Grant's Old Mill and that whole area. I ride my bike and walk around there a lot. And I also had the great honor of being the person that was with both my maternal grandparents when they left this world. And in the case of my grandmother, it was only me. And things work out the way they're meant to work out sometimes. And I considered it a real honor, and it was a funny and lighthearted and surreal kind of experience. And perhaps the only way I could ever repay her and for her and my grandfather practically raised me and certainly saved my ass a number of times. Anyway, so yeah, I ride around there a lot. And every time I pass the hospital, I think of her, and it's funny how it's not a sad, miserable memory. Sometimes you just have to sit in it, and holding on is way easier than letting go. But in those moments, I get the most, and so thinking of my late nanny tonight. There's just something about the way the light was falling against the blue hospital neon.
the sounds of sirens being carried away by the wind. Blackened hands from broken bicycle chains. It's just how we live now, without the night. Just how we live now, without the night. It's just how we live now. Smoke billowing in from the west. Oh, smell the oatmeal. Oh, being taxi ran like wounded silver birds. This is just how we live now, without the night. Just how we live now. It's without the night. Just how we live now. Oh, oh, oh. This is how we live now, without the night. Look at how we live now, without the night, without the night, without the night. This is how we live now, without the night. Look at how we live now, without the night, without the night, without the night. This is how we live now, without the night. Look at how we live now. Look at how we live now. This is how we live now. Look at how we live now. This is how we live now. Look at how we live now. This is how we live now.
Thanks, everybody. What's next, Joe? Everybody all right still? Good. I almost bummed myself up there for a second.
No, bro.
But
Epic.
you get what comes to you. I don't know what else to do. I wish I could say I planned any of this stuff. Music. You might have heard me talk before about Cory and I met in grade 4, and nobody ever told us we'd go anywhere. And we were told our music was terrible. And we were discouraged. We were chased out of band. We were chased out of everything. And to be fair, we were kind of delinquents. But not really. We looked like delinquents. We were pretty sweet kids, I think. But I played my mom's church. She asked if Cory and I'd come out and play the church, and Sierra Noble videoed my mom's introduction, and it broke my heart a little bit because she introduced Cory and I, and she said, if you've ever heard my son talk about not being encouraged growing up, I'm sad to say that it's true, and I would never have said that to my mom. I adore my mom, and she's certainly the only reason I'm still alive, but it really wasn't that bad. Because what's the alternate is praise. Everybody wins. And I don't know. It took a long time to kind of get anywhere, but looking back at it, I think I wouldn't change or do anything differently. And I certainly wasn't very good at managing my career, ever. And everything good that seemed to happen to me was the generosity of somebody in my line of work that was more successful than me, which I also took as kind of a bit of an honor, frankly. And then the poetry, well, my cousin Patrick Nolan and Patrick O'Connell were both friends and even mentors to me a little bit. My cousin in particular, I never imagined writing poetry. I'd never read a lot of poetry. It was the gift I got from quitting smoking and walking every day, and I wish I could say I planned that. But I decided recently I'm not planning nothing. I'm just going to keep going with it, and if the songs get sadder and the conversations get funnier, I think I can live with that equation. And just playing music with my friends is a satisfying thing. I feel very lucky. Back in around 1910 in Winnipeg, there was a police chief named John McCrae, and prostitution was a massive issue throughout the country, but like the railway had what they called harvester specials. The women stood right on the boardwalks there, and anyway, at some point, the chief was tasked with the job of getting rid of it. Same thing we do today for the most part. Get rid of it somehow. So he went to this woman named Madam Minnie Woods, and it's this great Winnipeg story. Maybe you've heard it. If you haven't, it's wonderful. And he struck a deal with Minnie that if they could contain it in Point Douglas, he would have his patrolmen leave them alone. And what was unique was the women ran the brothels. They hired private eyes and occasionally hired men from different trades in the event that they ever needed muscle. But the women were in charge. And I actually saw in the archives a list of rules that the chief and the madam sat down and wrote. And one of the rules was the women mustn't play the piano too loudly. Reasonable, I'd say. So anyway, if you're familiar with something called the Henderson Directory, it was kind of the directory that kept track of the development around our city back at this time. And you can still access many of these records today in the archives. And anyway, so when John McCrae kind of struck the steel, naturally he called his friend in real estate. And he bought up all these little houses that in the directory they called them shacks. Little tiny wooden shacks. And of course he sold them at exuberant prices back to the madams, who were willing to suffer yet further indignity with the idea they could run their businesses without interruption from the law. And anyway, it's an interesting story. I've thought about it for years. I've written poems about it, and I dreamt up this television series in my head. I'd been watching Peaky Blinders, and And I thought, how come there's not an ensemble cast like this, led by women? My Irish grandmother, my paternal grandmother, nobody took her for anything. She'd fuck you up. She was she had a right hook. She smoked cigarillos. She drank whiskey from a glass all day long. Then she would sneak in the kitchen. She'd often wear her hair in pigtails. She would sneak into the kitchen and take a couple shots of whiskey, only to go back to her glass of whiskey. He didn't fuck with my grandmother, and she ran the house and was wicked and hard, and she had a Becker's Milk for a while, which was a little franchise in Toronto, Beecher's Milk, and then she had this pet spider monkey. I swear to God this is all true. That hated everybody, of course, but her, so this monkey would bite you and stuff. And my dad won't talk to any of his family, and I reached out. My one cousin lives with a longtime companion, friend of my grandmother's, and he's still alive, and he's well into his 80s, I'm sure. And I talked to him on the phone about a month ago, and toward the end of the call, I said to him, could you tell me, do you remember the name of the monkey? I'm obsessing about it. And he said to me, I don't want to remember the name of that goddamn monkey. And he hung up on me. I got a friend in Dallas that says, man, if your family ain't fucked up, they're dead. Anyway, this is for the women of Annabella Street and McFarlane and Point Douglas, and it's called Annabella Street. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 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 all moved out of Annabella Street, as described in Henderson's directory. Everyone gambles in Wicked City. Houses burning. Stella, put your red light on. Crooked cops in winter bus, May bonds in Goldie Jones. Oh, 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 Rose Clark and Henrietta Sage, they both ran houses on McFarlane. Painted ladies in colored kimonos, keeping the streets in order. Crooked cops and winter birds, May bonds, Goldie Jones. Everybody. We got a couple more songs. Someone posted a photo the other day of Armin walking a pizza out to somebody's car at the Bella Vista. I can't tell you how happy that made me. There was a change of ownership there for a while. I'm not sure if you're aware. And the strangest thing, the guy didn't like me. You know, there's people out there that don't like me. But I didn't get why he didn't like me. I won't say too much about it other than I know that he didn't like me, and I'm pretty fucking glad Armin's back there, so. I was already like mentally braced for, that's it, I'll never go to the Bella Vista again, because this guy's gonna do something to my food. I don't trust that guy. I went all the way down there to meet him and shake his hand, and he was, seemed okay, and I got home and some friend called and said, man, this guy's saying some shit about you. What? Yeah. Welcome back, Armin. I'll spend Christmas alone and Boxing Day at the Bella Vista. It's just where us night people go for solidarity and anonymity. A laugh or two and some whiskey. I appreciate the brave faces as even us loners get lonely. I rarely raise a glass these days, but I'll be raising one for you tonight. He who makes us all feel just a little bit better. Doing timeless battle between the blessing and the curse, while always requesting the same damn song. Tune up the band, turn down the lights. The music spilling to the night. When all is said and done, remember where you're from. Bella Vista. Here where winters are long, winds howling for strong, streets are gritty, one great city, Bella Vista. Under the red neon cross, we'll remember the ones that we've lost. Two rivers, one song. Like the sound of a sad
violin, I whisper your name. The words never change. Belvista. Red neon cross. We remember once that we've lost. Two rivers, one soul. Music spill into the night. When all is said and done, remember where you're from. Belvista.
Paul Balcain on the saxophone. Now, Paul and Joanna go back all the way to the beginning with me. I used the fact that I was waiting and bartending at the Blue Note on Portage and had keys to the place as a way to lure in musicians to come play my songs after hours. I had the keys to the club and the beer fridge and the whole run of the place, and so that's where it began. Joe and I and Paul Balcain and a few others, and it helped me write songs, helped me get better at writing songs, helped me figuring out how to get people to play them. Early on, people used to say I'd give a look. If I didn't like something, apparently I'd give a look. That was like, I want to kill you kind of look or something. I wasn't aware, but I was just trying to learn, right, how to do it, and so it's, I have to be doing something okay in life that they both still play with me 25 years later. It's a blessing in my life, that's for sure. And to reconnect with Cory and I were in our first bands at about 11 and 12, and we were into Iron Maiden and Motley Crue, and I don't think we were very good. Cory had Nikki Sixx's hair, but he was the drummer, and he could twirl the drumsticks just like the Tommy Lee, the drummer, and got a lot of girls because of both those skills, but we were terrible. We never went anywhere. And then, so here we are all these years later, and Cory has used my songs to teach himself how to play the piano, and myself and another friend of ours has helped him a bit along the way, but ultimately it's his tenacity that has, just in a few years, who decides, hey, I'm going to learn to play the piano, learn to play your songs and travel the world with my best pal playing music. I thought, well, that's a pretty cool idea. So here we are. Technically, we formed this band like 35 years ago. We should probably be better, maybe. But, and Kevin, I often say, is the nicest and most gentle Winnipeg musician I know. Prior to knowing Kevin, it was Twisty from the D Rangers. But he kind of makes Twisty seem like a thug. He's very lovely and sweet, and I worry sometimes for him. But the world needs more of that, so, And he's got William now with him. He's become William's kind of right-hand man, and yeah, they're going to do just fine. With any luck, I'll be the opening act. We'll tour the world. William just wrote me the other day when they announced the long list for the Polaris Prize, and like he does whenever we have a special achievement with one of our things we've done together, he says, making history, bud. And, those are my favorite messages to get, because we did it our way, and continue to do it. And every time someone comes my way, I said, let's do it our way. Like, let's make the records we love, and William dove in headfirst for that, and frankly, everybody I've had the good fortune to make records with, Stephen Fearing most recently, and Ben D. LaCour, Watermelon Slim, and Richard Inman, and Little Miss Higgins, Lynn Hanson, Brady Ensland, incredible list of musicians, and anyway. This is about a girl that grew up down the street from me. She was my first older woman. I was 12, and her name was Candy. And I remember she taught me how to French inhale. She taught me a couple of the French things. Yet she wasn't really French. Two, three, four. Her name was Candy and she grew up on my street. Every day she'd go by, smile at me. After school I'd go home, I'd lay right down and dream of her sweet red ruby lips and everything in between. We'd skip class and smoke cigarettes behind the church. If I knew anything, Candy knew it first. She taught me more than I would ever learn in school. A supper beautiful of lonely-hearted fools. Little trailer out in the back, fell asleep to the sounds of railroad track. Candy and me, everything's gonna be alright. La, 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 la. La, la, la. Freckled innocence, curly red hair, lived with the mother and the boys from foster care. How easy it was to say her name. I call out for her over and over again. Little trailer out in the back, fell asleep to the sounds of railroad tracks. Candy and me, everything's gonna be alright. La, 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 la. Everything. Oh, be alright, be alright. Be alright, be alright. Be alright, be alright.
And that's what I said.
we still allowed to do encores in the COVID era? That's where the moist speaking starts happening. I've been bringing my own mic for years now. I used to be able to tell who was at the venue last. Not naming names, though. That got me in trouble once. That got me in some trouble once. All right. Well, I'd like to thank this band again. Paul Balcain, Cory Wolchuk, Joanna Miller, Kevin McLean, for volunteering to come with me here, because otherwise it would have been just me, and it wouldn't have been nearly as fun. I'm here tomorrow, presented by Winnipeg Folk Fest with Amber Nielsen and Andrina Turin and Richard Inman. Man, I love all three of those people. So I suspect that'll be a really pretty cool thing, and it'll be broadcast and streamed, so if you are unable to attend in person, it's going to be really something. Yeah. Well, I don't know what you think I'm thinking. I'm going to chance it. Arkansas, my head hurts, and I love to stick around, maybe make it worse. I got a girl out in Henrietta, and her love's like tornado weather. It's girls like this keep me trying. She goes off like an air raid siren. Come in clean, leave torn apart. Bad liver and a broken heart. Bad liver and a broken heart. Indian summer, Oklahoma sunset. If there's a nicer place, I haven't been there yet. Standing out front of the old blue door. Too tired for sleep, too drunk for more. It's nights like this that keep me trying. The woman always knows when her man is lying. It ain't me, I was just playing a part. Bad liver and a broken heart. Bad liver and a broken heart.
get old before I'm good at this. Who's the president? What year is this? Doesn't anybody speak about the truth anymore? Oh, maybe that's what those old songs were for. You're the wind and I'm on fire. In this line of work, no one retires. You come and clean, leave, torn apart. Bad liver and a broken heart. Oh, bad liver and a broken heart. Oh, bad liver and a broken heart. Oh, bad liver and a broken heart. Reconnected as friends, we ran into each other one day, and he said to me, "Hey, you going to the Motley Crue reunion?" And I was like, "No, I don't still listen to Motley Crue." And we started hanging out, and he just happened to come back in my life when I started producing records, which was not something I planned to do. So he there was a fly on the wall and went from classic rock and Motley Crue to Corin Raymond, Watermelon Slim, William Prince, Richard Inman. He's going, "Oh my God," you know. Every one of them, he was bewildered. And he sat in on all the sessions. In fact, he's got credits on all these Juno-winning, Polaris Prize-nominated records. I don't even remember him doing a damn thing but being there. There he is in the liner notes. Thank you, Cory Wolchuk. Yeah. 2 weeks into his music career, he won up Juno. Anyway, I did this Home Roots tour, and I was telling them this story about how I love I got into the songwriter Nick Cave late in life because I really loved the soundtrack and scoring music he did with his musical partner Warren Ellis. And unlike almost anybody I seem to know, I worked backwards from there. And so I particularly liked the work they did as they became collaborators. But way back on Nick's first record, he did a cover of Leonard Cohen's Avalanche. And so Cory, when he first came to me and said, "You know, I got this 10-year dream that I'm going to learn to play piano and become your piano player." And I said, Leonard Cohen had just died. I said, "I'm doing a tribute on Saturday down at the Handsome Daughter. So we got 6 days to teach you this song on the piano." And it's out there on YouTube. It was great. I played my iPad, and Cory played the piano, and away we went. And we played that song. In those early trips, he only did the last song with me. But we played Avalanche in mining bars in northern Manitoba. We played that song all over the place, and the reaction was always incredible. But anyway, Nick Cave talked about how that song cracked something open for him as a songwriter, which it not only had that effect on me, but more importantly, it was a bridge to Cory. And so when I knew I had the ability to put his mind to anything because he was going to listen to me, I thought, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Leonard Cohen, and it's a darker and more obscure song. And it wound up being, it had a similar effect on our friendship, and kind of, he sings it himself now. And anyway, so it was neat. It was a teaching moment through this great old song that connected us. And anyway,
which led me back to Nick Cave, and what a great songwriter he is. And anyway, Cory surprised me the other day and showed up at my studio and just started playing this song. So this is what we will leave you with. It's wonderful to see you. I could absolutely get used to seeing people in masks. It doesn't bother me at all. I think it kind of looks cool. We love you guys. I hope you're safe and healthy and happy, and it was incredible just to be in a room with you for an hour and a half. And thanks so much for coming and supporting Eric in the theater, and everybody at home. Please tip the theater and say thank you to the Village Idiots for coming down and capturing this whole moment for us. And we live in unprecedented times, and lo and behold, it's community every time. Anything good that happens. I read today that Canada didn't get the coveted seat at the United Nations Security Council. But more importantly, the last time the United Nations got together, Canada wasn't invited, but the Bear Clan was. And the programs my cousin started in prison before he died, they spread around the world. And the reason they work is because it wasn't from our leaders. It wasn't mandated. It wasn't us telling you the answer. It was people going, I'm fed up. These are our kids. We're not protecting our houses. We're out here to protect our children. So the Bear Clan get called up to the big seat. I hope Canada's paying attention right now. I hope they're hearing these messages loud and clear, because they can't get any louder. Cory? I don't believe in an interventionist God. I know, darling, that you do. If I did, I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you. No, not to touch a hair in your head, to leave you as you are. If he felt he had to direct you, then direct you into my arms. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. Oh Lord, into my arms. Oh Lord, into my arms. I don't believe in the existence of angels. Looking at you, I wonder if that's true. But if I did, I would summon them together and ask them to watch over you. Both each to burn a candle for you, to make bright and pure your path, and to walk like Christ in grace and love and guide you into my arms. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms.
So keep your candles burning, make a journey bright and pure, that she'll keep returning always and evermore into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. Good night, everybody.
Paul Balcain, Cory Wolchuk, Joanna Miller, Kevin McLean, Village Idiots. Get home safe, everybody. We love you to the Park Theater.